Have you ever heard the expression, an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Most assume, with no reason to think otherwise, that it is a simple, easy to remember rhyme which stresses the importance of eating healthy to young children. But the saying did not originate as a harmless reminder. It was born in a frontier town in the early days of the gold rush, where food was scarce and money even scarcer. One August, when a bad drought had struck the region, a series of bloody killings swept through the town. Every night, a single house would be broken into, and anyone who saw the invader would be swiftly, brutally slain. Nothing was ever stolen, save for a few scraps of food. After 2 weeks of this, the local grocer set out a few apples and a glass of milk in the town square overnight. He then hid in the tower of the church, hoping to catch a glimpse of anyone who came by. Fighting fatigue, the grocer waited for any sign of life below. Just after midnight, he was rewarded with a chilling sight. A man, carrying a black bag stuffed with dully shining metal tools and covered from head to foot in cloth bandages, staggered into view. He paused at the sight of the apples and milk, and then whipped his head around, as if looking for the one who dared to patronize him. Seized with fear, the grocer ducked out of sight, staying hidden until sunrise. The strange man had only taken one of the apples and didn't even touch the glass of milk. No houses were broken into, and no one was killed. For decades, the town continued to place out an apple or two every night, even long after a single apple stopped disappearing. You wake up to a strange scratching at your window. You sit up and look blankly at the wall, which is in perfect order. You lean slightly to one side and tilt your head to hear the sound better. You realize it's just the tree's leaves scratching against your window. After all, it's a windy night. You lay back down, and after about 5 minutes, a tapping noise awakens you once more. You repeat what you just did. You lean over and tilt your head. It's definitely a tapping. For a minute, you become paranoid, but you realize that, after all, it is winter, so a majority of the foliage has died and fallen off. It's just a bare branch hitting your window. You're just about to lay back down when you hear a hissing. Of course, it's just the wind blowing through the dead leaves, and the hissing is just the leaves wrestling among one another. You laugh to yourself and lay back down. But then, you jump straight out of bed in a cold sweat. You don't have a tree outside your window. The home insurance building, built in 1885 and demolished in 1931, was widely considered to be the world's first skyscraper, and for good reason. Several days before the building opened to the public, William LeBaron Jenney, the building's architect, took a stroll on the roof. As he looked across the then diminutive Chicago landscape, he yawned and stretched his arms above his head, unexpectedly bumping something above him. Jenney was not standing near any roof structures at this time. He extended his hand upward and came into contact with a transparent glass-like surface warm to the touch. His hand left smoky fingerprints that quickly disappeared from this mystery surface, and he scratched off some of the material with his fingernail, reporting that it was dense but weightless and had a pleasant aroma. When Jenney returned to the roof with several others to verify his claims, he could not locate the mystery surface again. Jenney did not return to the roof of the home insurance building until 5 years later, when 2 stories were added to the building's original 10 stories. He once again searched for the mystery surface, with no luck. Before leaving the roof for what would be the last time, Jenney felt an odd sensation of being watched. In almost every building, there is one corner, one small enclosure that no one ever looks at. It's the corner in the basement that has been blocked off by a disused sofa for years. The thin space in the attic between the wall and the stacks and crates full of junk you never use but could never throw away. The space that never sees the light of day, or any kind of light at all. Where darkness does not merely dominate, but practically oozes out from around the edges of its prison. No one knows quite how long a space must remain concealed for it to acquire this particular property, nor if there are any specific conditions that it must meet. But it is a far more common occurrence than you might think. In newer buildings, when this happens, the residents often report feeling cold when passing by, even in attics during the hottest of summers. Whenever contemplating taking a peek to see if there is anything actually there, an unnatural dread seizes them, and they leave the room quickly, if not quite running. Once left behind, the feeling passes, and it is quickly forgotten or laughed off. What actually happens in these forgotten sanctuaries of the dark, it is impossible to tell. For while many such corners have been exposed to reveal absolutely nothing, some brave souls have lost their sanity through nothing more than an ill-timed glance. The safest thing to do when encountering such a phenomenon is to close your eyes, rip away the area's covering in a single motion, and keep a tight hold on what you've pulled away. No matter what you hear or feel, do not get up, do not look around, and do not try to cover your ears. You might be one of the lucky ones. Normally, you sleep soundly, but the thunderstorm raging outside is stirring you from your slumber. You begin to doze, then another crash jolts you awake. The cycle lasts most of the night. So there you lay, eyes open and outward, looking at your room stretching out before you in oblong shadows. Your eyes move from nameless object to object until you reach your mirror, sitting adjacent to you across the room. Suddenly, a flash of lightning, and the mirror flickers in illumination. For a scant second, the mirror reveals to you dozens of faces, silhouettes within its frame, mouths open and eyes blackened. They stare out at you, their black pupils fixed upon your face. Then it is done. Are you sure of what you have even seen? Unsettled, you don't sleep for the rest of the evening. The next morning, you remove the mirror from your wall and toss it in the trash. It didn't matter if the vision you had seen was of truth or falsehood. You wanted to be rid of that mirror. In fact, you scrap every mirror in your house. Weeks pass, and the event of that night falls into memory. You are spending the day at a friend's house. It's time to use the bathroom. While you are in there, the faucet starts to run without you prompting it. Taken aback by this, you do not yet act, trying to reason with your paranoia in your mind. The water starts to steam, and a skin of moisture covers the mirror up above. You watch intently as the words form. Please return the mirrors. We miss watching you sleep at night. The man in the baseball cap walked through the hardware section of Home Depot. Something was wrong. He had to fix it when he got home. It was a little stuffy in there. Might feel good to let some air in. He thought for a while. The hacksaw would probably take too long, and it would be a weird angle for the Phillips head screwdriver. He had tried the hammer, but he couldn't get it to work, even with the 4-inch hot-dip galvanized nails he'd bought yesterday. It was an old place. Solid construction, over 40 years old. Damned if he knew what it was really made of. His eyes wandered over to the power tools section. That might do the trick. He just wanted to fix it up a bit. The ventilation wasn't right. After some inspection, the man purchased a DeWalt 14.4-volt electric drill with a 7-piece set of rapid-load masonry bits, 3,000 RPM, 98.7 foot-pounds of torque, 2 batteries, and a charger. He paid in cash, thanked the cashier, and drove home. As the clock hit 1:47, he figured he'd give it a go. He didn't know if the batteries were fully charged or not, but figured a few minutes of juice would be enough. Besides, he was getting a headache and he wanted to get this done before the kids came home. The man sat down at the dinner table and loaded the drill with a battery and a 17 and 64-inch masonry bit. He wasn't sure what size to use, so he guessed he could start low and size up, but it didn't really matter anyway. After removing the baseball cap, the man pressed the electric drill to the left side of his head and squeezed the trigger. The drill made a loud grinding sound as the bit struggled to pierce his skull. 2-3 minutes later, it was done. The man pulled the drill from his skull. Little flecks of bone were stuck to the bit. It felt like a slight wind was blowing through his head. He sat there for a moment, smiling. It felt good to let some air in. But now it was time to take care of that leak. I miss her. I really do. She was the best thing that had ever happened to me, and I loved her with all my heart and soul. Do you know what it's like to find your other half so early in life as I did? It's uncommon, let me tell you. It might just be the rarest goddamn thing to ever happen to a person, and it happened to me at 21. It's not my fault, you know. She was the one who didn't want commitment. I swear, every other word from her mouth was restraining order this and call the cops that, but she just must not have had a grasp on love like I did. I blame her personally for how this all went down. If she had just tried, she would have seen how truly amazing our love could have been, but she never wanted to give it a chance. She just wanted to live with that joke of a husband she had and keep working at her useless career. It was out of love I did what I did. I had to set her free from her prison. I couldn't stand to see her so out of place from where she belonged, safe with me. And so I killed her, knowing that if we can't be together in this life, we'll have all of eternity in the next. Well, I guess that the reason I miss her is because of this girl I've met. She's absolutely perfect. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I love her with all my heart and soul. It's like she's my other half. Do you know what it's like to find your other half so early in life as I have? It's uncommon, let me tell you. It just might be the rarest goddamn thing to ever happen to a person.